I wanted to put a 12-inch Lowrance unit on my console of my boat, and this is a Triton 17 Explorer, so there's not a whole lot of room, so I had to modify it. This is what it looks like when I'm finished. I'll go through the process and show you how I did it. This is a Triton 17 Explorer, and I'm wanting to put a big 12-inch Lowrance Elite fish finder on the dash. Gonna be a little tricky, but I'm gonna try and do it. To start with, I'm removing this panel right here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. I've got them off. Once you get them off, this thing just pulls right out of here. And then back behind here is all your wires. You can see I've disconnected some of them. This went to my fuel gauge. This one to my trim gauge. And then I'm going to disconnect the tack and the speedometer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take blue tape and I'm going to label everything I take loose here. My plan is to leave this gauge and this gauge in here, move this one and this one to here and here. So we'll see if we can get that done. Okay, so we're removing the trim gauge right now, and to do that, it's got two nuts on the back side. These are wing nuts that were on this side, and you take those wing nuts off this pole and this pole, and then this piece just slides out, and it's going to slide out the back, and then your gauge is going to slide out the front. It comes right out just like that. Okay, now we're taking this fish finder off, and it's just got these bolts right here. I took the nut off yet. So that little white piece on that bolt screws on, and it's a little hard to get a hold of, but that's how you got to get that fish finder out. Once you get those things screwed off, it'll slide right out the front. Okay, so I'm cutting my holes for my gauges in my lower dash, and what I did was I just put this piece of PVC, and this is a 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch PVC, you can see there, but I took that end and kind of drew around it and then cut out, and then I had to expand it a little bit. But you want this to be tighter rather than looser, because you don't want that gauge to slip back in there. So I'm going to do the other one, and then I'll mount those gauges. I'm going to take some of this composite board here and cut it. You can see I've cut a piece to fit a little past this hole where my old Lowrance fish finder was. Now I'm going to go into the corners and put screws in here, and I'm going to put these fender washers up here too, and I'm going to screw that down real good so that I can mount to this wood right here. That's what I have now. This is composite, so it will not, water won't affect it at all. It won't rot or anything. I've got these in each corner with the large fender washers to hold that in, because I don't really want to drill into my dash panel in case I need to change this. And this block is not going to show at all once I get that fish finder on here. It's going to cover the whole thing. These holes will probably show a little bit, but I'll probably find something to put in those too. They're a pretty common size. I mean, this is a 1.5 inch pop cap, and it fits right in there. So I'm sure I can find some kind of emblem or something to go in there if it don't look good. My plan was to do this very cheap, and I think I got it accomplished. I showed you this board that I put on here, this composite board. I drilled holes through it and through this. This is a piece of aluminum square tubing that I had. I cut it, I drilled holes here, 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 and here, And then I bolted these to the board, and I bolted these to the fish finder mount. So that ought to work. My bracket back in my dash. Now all I've got to do is put these screws back in, screw this down. I drilled a hole to run the transducer cable, and whatever transducer you're putting on here will dictate how big a hole you need for that. This one was like an inch. That's pretty good size. And then I drilled a hole on the other side for the power cord, and that's all I'll need right here for now. Like I said, I'm going to fill these with something else later on, but for now we're just going to get this thing mounted. All right, so there's what it looks like finished. It's going to be pretty nice to use, and I never dreamed I could get it on this console like this, but it worked really well, and I'm ready to get out there and see what it can do.